When and why could 2b2t ever die? It's a pretty common question that I'm sure many of you, including myself, have probably thought about in the past. And whilst even though I have been playing 2b2t for almost 3 years now, I am sadly still currently unable to access the quantum realm of autism to see into the future to find out. However, things like these are always incredibly fun and interesting to talk and theorise about, and so in this video, that's exactly what we're gonna do. Of course, if you do end up enjoying the video, then I'd massively appreciate it if you were to drop a like and maybe even subscribe to see stuff like this in the future. But anyway, roll the intro. Alright, so I think that before we start talking about the different ways 2b2t could die in the future, we should first talk about the ways 2b2t has come close to dying in the past. And whilst you may think that the server must have some rich history of coming close to death as a result of backdoors, lag machines and exploits, this really isn't the case. In fact, the only thing that ever came incredibly close to making the server die was ultimately funding. If you take a look back to 2013 to when the server actually had an official website, the owner of the server had made it clear that he thought himself that the server was dying, and he was getting ready to completely reset the map or close the server entirely. This, however, was only if the server went unpaid by the community. Whilst the server owner had funded the first 2 years of 2b2t completely out of his own pocket, he no longer wanted to do this, and so he put forward a $90 monthly donation goal that the players had to hit every month to keep the server running. Whilst this seems like nothing compared to the thousands of dollars it probably costs the server to run nowadays, back then this was a lot of money for such a small community to drag together. And so some months there had to be players like XCC2 or Offtopia, for example, who fully funded that month by themselves just so that the server didn't die. So yeah, without a few select old players, the server would have never been found by Russia, FitMC would have never became a big YouTuber, and 2b2t would only really be some irrelevant little forgotten blimp in internet history. But some of you may be thinking, but dig, FitMC made a video about the day 2b2t almost died. That involved a backdoor, why aren't you talking about that? Well, yes, there was indeed a backdoor of 2b2t at this time in early 2016. And yes, many bases did indeed get griefed as a result of this. However, while some players may have temporarily stopped playing on the server to avoid being TP'd to, the server never came remotely close to dying as a result of this. This whole claim that FitMC makes of the server being dead before Russia joined and saved the day can just be proven wrong in like 2 seconds by literally watching the Camping Russia's first video he made on 2b2t, where you can clearly see over 20 players online and people talking quite actively in chat, which doesn't seem all that dead to me. Just because a player named Sato86 made some highly roleplay Reddit post about how the server is no longer anarchy and that everyone should leave or whatever, doesn't really reflect the actions of most players and was mostly laughed at the time. Anyway, I digress. That's enough of the past. Now, let's look into the future. When you try to imagine what a dying 2b2t, or any dying server for that matter, looks like, most people will probably think of some inactive wasteland that has long been abandoned by its player base due to inactivity. However, what if 2b2t could be the other way around? What if the server becomes so big that it gets put at risk of getting killed off? This may seem stupid because surely the more players a server has, the better. And yes, in 99.9% of cases, this is true. However, 2b2t is unique. It shouldn't be a secret to any of you that 2b2t is filled with some of the most toxic, most edgy, and most retarded people in all of Minecraft. Like, try play the server for more than 10 seconds without someone screaming the N-word in chat, or try walk around spawn for 5 seconds without seeing some massive obsidian swastika. Whilst this is perfectly normal to all of us 2b2t players, as we have essentially become accustomed to it, in a world where you can get in trouble for saying guacamole gamer word penis, a Minecraft server housing kids that LARP as neo-Nazis probably isn't gonna look that great when the general public starts noticing. And whilst the server is fairly mainstream and known about by most people within the general Minecraft community, as far as the wider internet goes, it's still fairly unknown, but this really could change at any minute. 2b2t has had close calls when it comes to internet celebrities joining it in the past, such as popular MMOs from a few years ago, and more recently, Mr. Beast. If either of these YouTubers would have made videos about the server, not only would the server be rendered pretty much unplayable for the next couple of weeks just because of the sheer demand for people to play, but all it really takes is one desperate news outlet or one slightly popular guy on Twitter to literally just look at the 2b2t wiki page to find out what the server is all about. And before you know it, famous YouTuber plays and promotes racist Minecraft server could break internet headlines. And what happens after that? Well, we all know who owns Mojang. The minute Microsoft starts getting heat from the public about letting a Minecraft server like this even survive for this long, they could easily enough just decide to pull the plug and blacklist 2b2t.org as a Minecraft server entirely, instantly killing it. I think that this potential reality gets way less thought by the player base than it should. In my opinion, this is just as likely to happen as any of the other theories I'm going to be talking about. So, what are the other theories? Well, before we move on to them, I need to make sure something is completely clear for you, okay? Right. 2b2t will always have players who wish to play on the server. As long as the server is still running, 2b2t will always have a player base of some sort, and therefore, in my opinion, the server will never die as a direct result of the server not being that active, as there will always be people out there who are willing to pay the bills. However, it is general lack of activity that could certainly lead to some things that would indeed kill the server. In my opinion, the biggest and fastest way the server could start to die down in player numbers would be if for some reason YouTube just decided to demonetize all content that revolves or promotes 2b2t. I don't really know why this would happen, but potentially it could be the same thing we mentioned earlier, in that the server gets so much attention, the general public start noticing and getting mad about it. I've always had a theory about something that the 2b2t player base could potentially do, which is to actually contact companies that advertise on YouTube, telling them that their ads are appearing on YouTube videos that promote this quote-unquote Nazi server, and if you manage to get enough companies and advertisement agencies to complain to YouTube about it, YouTube could just decide not to monetize any videos that revolve around 2b2t. But I don't know, that's just some random idea I've always had, which probably isn't possible, but it's certainly one of those things that are cool to think about, I guess. Anyway, if all 2b2t content were to get demonetized, it would drastically slash the amount of views 2b2t gets on YouTube every day. Channels like FitMC would be forced to switch up to different Minecraft content, and smaller 2b YouTubers like me will probably be completely fucked because, as most of you should know, YouTube rarely promotes unmonetized videos on people's recommended pages, since it's obviously not economically smart for them to do so. So even though most small YouTubers like myself wouldn't care about the loss of ad revenue, general channel growth and views in general would plummet. Don't worry though boys, I'll still upload my shitty little documentaries, I'm not going anywhere. Anyways, I digress. Obviously, since YouTube is pretty much the only way new players find out about the server nowadays, you would see the queue instantly full, and the player base would probably quite quickly go back to the type of player counts seen in 2017. Other than that, there isn't really anything that would completely put an end to new players finding out about the server. Sure, maybe another game will crop up which takes all the 12-year-olds away from Minecraft just like Fortnite did a few years ago, and sure, if 2b2t stays on 1.12 forever, it's gonna make the server much less fun than it could be, but at the end of the day, new fags will still always be joining from YouTube. So, what could happen when the player count starts to fall and the player base starts to go inactive? I said earlier that this could never kill the server directly. However, due to this making the server much less profitable for the owner, what's to say that he wouldn't want out? The majority of the 2b2t community absolutely hate the server owner, And I'm sure it's pretty safe to say that the server owner probably hates the 2b2t community back, but just puts up with us since we give him a shit ton of money for his furry fanfiction addiction. And so maybe when he feels that putting up with the server just isn't worth it for him anymore, he may consider cashing out and just selling the server. Of course, this would be a lot of money, easily in the multiple six-figure range, but trust me when I say, someone would buy it. Of course, this would all be behind the curtains, and the 2b2t community would never know about it, which does make you wonder if it's already happened. The server would be down for a few hours whilst the server ownership gets transferred, and this new owner would probably be just as good, if not better, than the original one. The problem is though, whilst the current owner of 2b2t is pretty lazy and meh when it comes to running the server, there is one necessary trait he has had in recent years which is vital for the server's existence. Being that, he has had absolutely zero connection to the 2b2t community. Anyone who has ever spoken to Housemaster through email or anything else can confirm that the guy has absolutely zero clue about what is going on when it comes to what's taking place on his server. He probably just watches FitMC's video every week, but even that's a stretch. This is great though, because it means he'll never be tempted to fuck with or play on the server, which means that the player base can pretty much be left assured that there is never anything fishy going on behind the scenes. A new owner though may not be like this, and would be way more likely to admin abuse, although I would doubt it. However, what happens when this new owner figures out how hard it is to run and deal with 2b2t, especially when the server is on a downward spiral of not making any money? Once the novelty of becoming the new Housemaster wears off, they may very quickly find themselves tired of having to be responsible for the server, and so the cycle repeats itself. The server gets sold for an even cheaper price, and the new owner will probably do the same thing until eventually there's a really good chance that the server could end up in the hands of someone who either has no clue what to do, or is maybe a prominent member of the 2B community who just abuses his power. Like, imagine if the leader of a big group were to get ownership of 2B2T and just use it to spawn in shit for him and his friends, TP to opposing players, maybe even ban people they didn't like. Yeah, now that would kill the server. Alright, so up until this point in the video, we've only really spoken about how 2b2t could die due to overexposure and underexposure, when in reality, it could very easily be completely unrelated to the two. I spoke earlier about how Mojang itself being owned by Microsoft could very well be what kills 2b2t if in some way the server gets put into the spotlight. However, actions Mojang have been taking lately are incredibly worrying in my opinion. First of all, in the coming months, all players will be needing to migrate Mojang accounts directly to individual Microsoft accounts, in order for Microsoft to pretty much have more control over Java Edition players. And secondly, a new Minecraft community guidelines system has just recently been announced to affect all non-Java players, which for the first time ever will mean players can actually get their Microsoft and therefore Minecraft accounts banned entirely from accessing online play if they were to break said guidelines. Whilst, of course, this doesn't affect us Java 2b2t players as of now, as Java Edition becomes ever more merged with Bedrock Edition, what's to say that these guidelines won't someday be put up against us too? And take a look at these rules for yourself. I'm gonna go ahead and quickly put a tick next to the select few that 2b2t players have done in the past. Not looking great, are we? What's to say that if hundreds of people break these rules and get banned on a single server, that Mojang won't just get rid of the server entirely? If not, then it still symbolises, to me at least, how Mojang is constantly pushing for multiplayer Minecraft to be as family friendly and safe for kids as possible, and this should really worry any 2b2t player. So what is the biggest threat to 2b2t? Is it underexposure, wherein the server could get so inactive to the point of Housemaster selling out? Or is it overexposure, wherein 2b2t could find itself vulnerable to mainstream media and cancel culture? Well, there's really no way of knowing. In my opinion, they are both just as likely as each other. I'm sure that each and every one of you watching right now will have your own opinion, and I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments, as well as any other theories that you might have as to what could lead to the server's death. And yes, these are purely just theories, okay? As I said in the beginning, there is no real way to know for sure what is going to happen in the coming years, so please don't take this video as me telling you for sure what's going to happen to 2b2t in the future. But this does bring us to the next question. How long does 2b2t have left? It's only a matter of time because one of these theories becomes a reality, right? Well, again, there's truly no way of knowing. Whilst the first two theories I gave in this video are certainly things that would take quite a lot of time to happen, as 2b2t isn't just randomly gonna go inactive overnight, nor will it randomly implode in on itself if a big YouTuber makes a video about it. My third theory about Mojang blacklisting 2b2t due to its un-PG culture really is something that could honestly happen without warning at any time, which really does make you wonder, is it only a matter of time? Or will the server keep going for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even another 10 years? Well, there is one thing that's for sure, which is, as always on 2b2t, only time will tell. Thanks for watching.
Excuse me, what? Oldest anarchy server? That's LARP, bro. You should watch DigMC, bro. He is a lot better than this shit. Don't watch FitMC. Well, this is how you take care of him. You see this? Yes, it's a microwave. Let's put him in the microwave, guys. FitMC in a microwave, guys. FitMC in a microwave. Oh fuck, the iPad. The iPad shut off. Dumb shit. Fucking stupid.